Good day, guys. Welcome to our next topic. Actually, we are almost done with the whole accounting cycle process. This is the third quarter of our semester. So, I hope you've already grasped up different concepts and the application of such accounting processes. Okay, but before anything else, let's have a quick recap of those accounting process or accounting steps of this accounting cycle. Okay, so the very first one is the analysis and identifying a business transaction and make journal entries. Of course, we're done with this. And then we have to post our journal entries to the general journal, so it means posting to the ledger accounts, and then you prepare the unadjusted trial balance. Okay, after having your unadjusted trial balance, and at the end of the accounting period, there will be information, additional information wherein there is a need to adjust your or expenses, income, and as well as the liability, asset, and owner's equity account. So wherein it needs adjusting entries. After having adjusting entries, of course, you have to update trial balance and see to it that whatever changes, it should be reflected in new trial balance, which we call adjusted trial balance. Okay, so that's the quick recap of all the accounting steps that we've already discussed so far. So by this time, supposedly we are now on the preparation of the financial statement. Okay, but take note, there is another option before you prepare a financial statement. You could first prepare a worksheet. Okay, the preparation of a worksheet is not really a must, but it is a good way for us in order for us to make financial statements a lot easier. Okay, once you prepare a worksheet, it will be a guide for us, not just for the preparation of financial statement, as well as in the preparation of our closing entries and having our post-closing trial balances. So it is a really great aid for the preparer, for the bookkeeper or accountant, if they will make this worksheet. Okay, so instead of having financial statement preparation, we will still we will first discuss the preparation of the worksheet. Okay, so okay, what is this worksheet? The worksheet simplifies the adjusting and closing process, and as well as the preparation of our financial statements. It can also reveal errors, and then take note, the worksheet preparation is optional, okay? But it is a very great help if you do prepare a worksheet with you. And it is not part of the ledger or the journal, of course, nor it is not also considered a financial statement. Again, this is an accounting device that would help the accountant in preparing all the relevant accounting reports or financial statements, as well as the closing entries. Okay, so this is what we call the worksheet paper. So you can buy this one. We have this in the bookstore. If we will going to prepare it manually, okay, you can use this worksheet paper with you in preparing the worksheet, wherein it has four columns where you will write your debit, credit, and so forth. Okay, first column, of course, the account titles, the list of account titles, and the rest of the columns is allotted for debit and credit. Okay, and of course, the heading will put the heading of course. So the worksheet paper, as you can see, it is a multi-column document. Okay? It provides an efficient way to summarize the data for financial statements. So everything you need, every information you need, it will be found in this worksheet. Okay? So there are generally three types of worksheet preparation. First one is this what we call six-column worksheet. Though literally it is more than six column. But what we are considering six column here is this. The two columns for the trial balance, the two columns for income statement, and lastly, the other two columns for the balance sheet. So once you will have the trial balance column, specifically this is the adjusted trial balance, and then you will expand this one to have the income statement columns, of course, still the debit and credit, and then the balance sheet column. Okay, that's why it is called six-column worksheet. The next one is the eight-column worksheet, wherein you will not just include the trial balance, income statement, balance sheet, but also you will include the adjustment columns, wherein all the entries at the end of the accounting period, you have your adjusting entries. Then you will incorporate this one in this worksheet. So you have the trial balance. This one is an adjusted trial balance. And then you have the adjustment columns. And of course, the income statement and the balance sheet column. Okay. So generally, you have eight columns here for all the section, trial balance section, adjustment section, income statement, and balance sheet. So it is what we refer as eight column. And lastly, we have the 10 column worksheet, wherein this is the one that we will going to prepare. Okay. Of course, unlike the other two, this 10 column worksheet uh, shows everything. Okay, so the first column or the first section, of course, the trial balance, the unadjusted. Okay, I have to emphasize is this one is unadjusted trial balance. Okay, no adjustment yet. Whatever recorded in our posting, very si trial balance. Okay, so you write all the debits and credits, and so with the next section, does the adjustment, all entries related to adjusting. You will write all the amounts here. Okay, the amounts. And then the adjusted trial balance or the updated trial balance after incorporating the adjustment, all the adjustment that we have on the on that current accounting period. It will reflect updated amount and any additional account titles. So, dili na to napalibutan ang one adjusted trial balance, same process, and then we will extend the adjusted trial balance with the income statement and the balance sheet columns. Okay, so five sections, an adjusted trial balance, adjustments, adjusted trial balance, income statement, and the balance sheet. Okay, so generally 10 columns, excluding of course the column for the account title. Okay, so among the three, of course, what we will be applying is the 10 column worksheet because it shows comprehensively all the data, financial information that we will going to use or the needed information. Once you prepare our financial statement, so how should we prepare the worksheet? The first step, of course, you enter the account balances in the unadjusted trial balance columns and their total amounts. Next is you enter the adjusting entries, the adjustment column, and then total the amounts. Third is, of course, compute each account's adjusted balance for us to create the adjusted trial balance. And then extend all the real accounts, or what we call asset, liability, and owner's equity account titles, to the balance sheet column, while the income and expense accounts, or the nominal accounts, we will extend that one to the income statement columns. Okay, then after that, we total the debit column and the credit column. And lastly, compute the profit or loss. And this will be the difference between the revenue and the expense accounts. So in order for you to see, okay, I will show you the worksheet and how it should be done. Okay, so I have here an Excel format of a worksheet. Okay, so this is a given. This is also from our previous discussion where electronic repair and services were in. We've already done the journal entries and prepared an adjusted trial balance. So this time, we're going to make a worksheet before preparing its financial statement. As you can see, we have the unadjusted trial balance. So this will be our given, an adjusted trial balance, and we've already prepared its adjusting entries. Okay, because we're already done with this particular accounting process, now let's go over in making a worksheet. Okay, so this is our worksheet here. The first thing that you should do, of course, don't forget to write the heading. The heading is, of course, first line, the name of the company. The second line, what is it? Of course, it is the worksheet. And the third line is the date. So this is a 10-column worksheet. We have the column for the account title, of course. First thing you should do is copy. You copy all the account titles under this unadjusted trial balance. Okay, so once you've already prepared this unadjusted trial balance, since this is in the previous accounting step, okay, so you will just copy all these account titles right here, and then of course the total, and then write the amount corresponding to specific account titles. Okay, so we have an adjusted trial balance section here. Of course, the debit and credit column. So you will just copy the unadjusted trial balance to the worksheet. Okay, simply transfer whatever is written in your unadjusted trial balance to the worksheet. So for example, we have cash amounting to 7,480 debit. So you will just write here 7,480 debit cash and so on. Okay, so copy everything in the unadjusted trial balance. I mean the account titles and its related amounts, and then total. Okay, have the total of the debit column and as well as an or credit column. Okay, so the next section is the adjustment. So you will just, in order for you to make and complete this part, go over to the adjusting and of course at the end of the counting period there is additional information, and with that information you may need adjustments. Okay, when you need adjustments, of course, we will have to make adjusting entries. So we have here assumption, of course, adjusting entries given first entry or the first adjusting entry is where just accounts receivable, and so will the service revenue. The second adjusting entries is recognizing the expense and its related liability. The third adjusting entry is wherein you update your supplies expense and lessen the service supplies on hand. And the last adjusting entry, or the fourth one, is wherein you will record a provision for your depreciation expense. Okay? So since you've already have this adjusting entries, what you will do is just reflect this one on our worksheet under the here adjustment section. The first one is accounts receivable is debited. Okay? Take note, the debits the accounts receivable. So you will just put here in the debit section um, accounts receivable 300. Okay? So just a quick guide, we have what we call letter marking, or it means if whatever adjusting entry is it, for example, this one, accounts receivable and service revenue, this is letter A. So in order for us to easily locate, okay, to locate it easily, much better if we put a letter. Okay, that's what we call letter marking. Okay, so let's have letter marking so that we can easily locate and gikan adjustment. Okay, so letter A adjustment is about accounts receivable, debit, and service revenue credit. So that is letter A. So let's put here for the accounts receivable adjustment, letter A, and its related credit, which is the service revenue, still A. Next one, letter B, is the adjustment for the utilities expense here. And then utilities payable is our credit. So this time, let's put also B here so that we can easily locate our adjusting entries. Okay, utilities expense here. So guys, if on our adjusting entries, there's no, it's not yet recorded on our unadjusted, so we will just add that particular account title to the lower part. So for example, the utilities expense. So wala man siya sa tuang first recording sa account titles for the unadjusted trial balance. So we will just add that particular account title here. So we have here utilities expense and then extend whatever the amount it was debited. So it is 1,800. So we debit 1,800 also. So we will just put in here. This is letter B. And then its credit is utilities payable. So you check. Of course, upon examining our account titles, there is no account utilities payable. So we will put also here utilities payable. So we have letter B. Okay. So for adding this account titles, it may be in any order, whichever is more comfortable for you. So for me, I want to arrange it according to its um what type of ano, what type of financial element is it? Like for me, it is much easier to have all expenses first, then whatever additional liability or asset account that I need to um have. Okay. So the third one, the third adjusting entry or the letter C is about here service supplies expense and service supplies. So I will just copy the amount and see to it what particular account title is affected. Okay. So for service supplies expense, there's no service supplies expense yet, but we have service supplies. So this is an asset account. Based on our adjusting entry, it was credited. Okay. For service supplies expense, it is debited. So therefore, I will add service supplies expense here and then extend the amount 900. Okay, so this is letter C. So its related credit is the service supplies. Okay, and lastly, letter D is about recording the depreciation expense. So since wala may depreciation expense 3, so we will add another account titles. These are adjusting entry, letter D, and its accumulated depreciation, letter B. Okay? And after having all these adjusting entries, we will total its debit column and its credit column. Always remember that the debit and credit column should always be equal. Okay, so if it is not equal, so for sure there is something wrong with your entries. So this is how we done this part. We will just reflect all the adjusting entries and then reflect to its related account titles. Okay, so the next one is we have to extend this one to our adjusted trial balance. So if the problem already give you adjusted trial balance, so you don't need to prepare all of this now. Okay, the first one, the unadjusted trial balance or the adjustment, if you are given with the adjusted trial balance. Okay, because this other two, the first part, is needed in order for us to prepare adjusted trial balance. And we need adjusted trial balance to extend to the income statement section in the balance sheet section. Okay, take note ha. We need the unadjusted trial balance and the adjustments to make the adjusted trial balance. And to have our income statement and balance sheet, we need the information from adjusted trial balance. Okay, so after having the adjusted trial balance part or section, we will reflect whatever recorded on our adjusting entries and then total them again and then update the amounts. So, for example, this one, so how should we update this one? For the adjusted trial balance, of course, we will go to every to every account titles one by one. Okay? So therefore, si cash, you have here an adjusted balance 7,480 and see to it if there is a Related adjustment here, of course, there's none. So therefore, we will just copy the amount, 7,480. So next is the accounts receivable. So we have initially a balance for the accounts receivable 3,400, and then upon looking sa adjustment section, it has additional debit 300. Okay? So remember, the normal balance of accounts receivable, since it is an asset account, is debit. So let's just say normal balance, it means it is addition. While if na-credit ni siya guys, so it means a decrease in our accounts receivable. So again, gi-debit siya. So 34 plus 300, that is 3,700. But if there is also a credited amount, so 34 plus 300 minus the credited amount. For example, if na, okay? So next is the service supplies. So it is an asset account. Its normal balance is debit. So what should be, if na amount can be debit, it should be added. And if na amount can be credit, it should be deducted. Okay? So 1,500 plus debit, of course, there's no debited amount, minus the 900. So we have a total amount of 600 pesos. So if you were asking, Mom, it should be on the debit column or the credit column. So as you can see, much higher ang debit side. The amount for the debit side is 1,500, while the amount of the credit side is 900. So we will follow which side is the higher amount. Okay, kung mas taas ang amount, dito nato ibutang ang ato ang final amount. Okay? Or it is just 1,500 minus 900, 600. And nasa debit side si 1,500. So we will put the 600 or the final amount to the debit side. Okay? So next account title is furniture and fixture. So as you can see, there is no related adjustment here. So we will just extend this amount. So with the service equipment, so extend the amount. Of course, you should be careful. If not just the debit side, you copy that one on the debit side also. For the accounts payable, this is on the credit side, no related adjustment. So extend this one to the credit side of our adjusted trial balance. Same with the loans payable and for the owner's capital. So literally, we're just copying the amount if there's no related adjustment. Okay, for the drawing, it's just a debit side, so we will put also this one on the debit side. Next is the service revenue. As you can see, a revenue, so pag revenue, ang iyang normal balance is the credit, di ba? So, if na ay credit, it means additional to its amount. Meaning, if it is credited, it is addition. If it is debited, of course, the opposite, it is a decrease. Okay, can you follow? Again, pag normal balance, it means dapat i-add. If it's not on its normal balance, so i-minus. As you can see, our adjustment related to service revenue is a credit, meaning normal side, normal balance credit, so it is an addition. So we have initially an amount of 9,550. from unadjusted, and we reflect the amount from the adjustment section na 300. So total, we have 95550 plus 300. So we have a total balance of credit 9,850. Okay? Just take note. Kay ang iyang normal balance is credit. That's why if naay additional credit, it should be an increase. Unlike this one, with our service supply, ang credit is minus or a deduction because the normal balance of service supplies which is an asset account is debit. So kay wala man siya sa iyang normal balance, so it means a deduction. Okay? So balik na sa service revenue, it is on its normal balance na credit, so it indicates that we should add this particular uh, adjustment. Or simply, since nasiya sa iyang credit and also credit, so therefore, both credit, so we extend also this one to the credit column. The total amount of the credits, 9,550 plus 300, you have now the total amount of 9,850. Okay, so next is the rent expense. No related adjustment. We just extend this one. Debit column, debit column. Same with the salaries expense and taxes and licenses. Okay, next is, of course, don't forget the additional account titles to extend also to our adjusted trial balance section. So we have utilities expense, debited. So extend lang po natin sa debit column. And also depreciation expense, it is also debited. While accumulated depreciation is credited. So credit lang po nato sa adjusted trial balance. The service supplies expense is debited also. And lastly, the utilities payable is credited, so we just extend this one to our credit column under adjusted trial balance. So as you can see, we just processed what the amounts on our unadjusted trial balance at the same time together with the amounts on the adjustment section. Okay, so after processing all this amount, we come up with our adjusted trial balance. So if you prepare adjusted trial balance, so you will have this um one as our adjusted trial balance here. So this is our adjusted trial balance. So if you have the worksheet, okay, you could easily prepare your adjusted trial balance. Okay? But take note, even though there's no worksheet, of course, you could still prepare your adjusted trial balance. So here we have the total amount for debit, 46,570, as well as for our credit column. We will just use this worksheet again for us to read and to make it easier in processing all of this financial information or all these financial elements that we have. So we also have this one, 46,570 for both debit and credit card. Okay, so next is so after having the adjusted real balance here, after having this one, so okay na, we've already incorporated the adjustment. That's how we created the adjusted trial balance. Now, we have to extend this one on the income statement section and the balance sheet section. Okay? Take note, if ever reflect na siya sa income statement, dili na siya ma-reflect sa balance sheet. Okay? Take note for a service concern nga business, if kanang account title ma-reflect na sa balance sheet, dili na dapat siya ma-reflect sa income statement section. Same with if it is reflected in the income statement, dili na po siya dapat ma-reflect sa balance sheet section. Okay, what account title should be reflected in the balance sheet? So, take note, basta balance sheet, account titles na dapat nadira is the asset, liabilities, and owners equity. The real accounts. Asset, liabilities, and owners equity. While in the income statement, all the account titles involving revenues and expense na account titles. That's why it's very important here that you should recognize unsa nga financial element na account title. Because if you fail to recognize what financial element it belongs, so it is harder for you to classify if which section that particular account title butang. So let's have it this. So the amount that should be reflected is from this section, the adjusted force. What should be reflected is the adjusted amount. So diri na nato magamit sa adjusted trial balance in extending to the income statement and balance sheet section. Okay, first we have the cash. So first, cash is an asset, so it should be extended to the balance sheet section. So debit, cash, and then put this one on the balance sheet section. Accounts receivable, of course, this is an asset. So its amount, the 3,700 debit, should be part of the balance sheet section debit. Okay? Next is the service supplies. So supplies is an asset. So its amount, not 600, net debit, will be also transferred to balance sheet 600 debit. Okay. Furniture and pictures, of course, it is an asset with an amount of 3,000. So we extend that one to the balance sheet column debit. Next is service equipment. Equipment again is an asset, 16,000. So we put 16,000 debit on balance sheet section. Next is accounts payable. So accounts payable is a liability account. Therefore, this should be um it should be part of our balance sheet section. 9,000, okay. So we have here 9,000. So extend that one here. On our credit side, of course, we just follow, guys, whatever side it belongs from the adjusted trial balance. So next is loans payable with an amount of 12,000 credit. So we put that one on balance sheet since it is a liability account. Next is Mr. Gray Capital, which is an owner's equity. Of course, we extend its amount to the balance sheet section, 13,200. And then Mr. Gray Drawing, it is still part of the owner's capital because at the end of the day, this drawing will be closed sa toang capital, meaning it will be a deduction to the, it is a deduction from the capital account. That's why it is still part, of course, of the owner's capital. 7,000 debit. So we also put here the balance sheet section 7,000. Okay, so that's how we extend those amounts. Next is service revenue. So it is a revenue account title. So therefore, it should be part of our income statement. So we have here its amount 9,850. We extend this one to our income statement since it is revenue account, 9,850. Also credit side, so it should also be on its credit side under income statement. So for the expense, rent expense, salaries expense, and taxes and licenses, all of these account titles are expense account. So this one, we will just expand this one sa tuan income statement section, of course, debit side. So it should also be located on the debit side under income statement. Okay. Next is utilities expense. So again, this is another expense account. So its amount should be reflected on the debit side under income statement. Okay. Next, depreciation expense, another expense, the same process. We extend the amount from the adjusted trial balance to the income statement section. Next, accumulated depreciation. So again, accumulated depreciation is a contra asset. So just like an asset, it should also be part in our balance sheet. Okay, because this is a contra asset account. So sa balance sheet siya. So we have a credit balance 720. So we just extend this one to our balance sheet section credit 720 also. Okay. Next is the service supplies expense, another expense account. This should be on our income statement section, debit column 900. And lastly, the utilities payable, of course. Payable, this is a liability account. And again, liability account should be part of our balance sheet section. So its amount is 1,800. So we extend this one to the credit column of the balance sheet. Okay, so that's how we um, extend this amount from the adjusted trial balance to either income statement or balance sheet column. So the question kung siya ibutang sa balance sheet ba or income statement, what you need to do is to classify first which financial element that the, this particular account title belongs. So if nasa sa asset, liability, o owner's capital na belong, so therefore dapat ma-reflect siya sa atong balance sheet. But if wa siya nabilong dito, nabilong siya sa revenues and expense account, so dapat ibutang siya nato sa income statement columns. Okay? So again, the amount that we will be using is the amount coming from adjusted trial balance. And we just copy the amount and extend to which section is it, to which section does it belong. Okay? So yun. Okay. So after having all these columns or the amount in the debit column and the credit column, as well as the balance sheet here, we will just total again all the debit column and the credit column. So after computing, you will add here total amount, total. So we have a debit total amount of 8,790, while the credit amount is 9,850. The same with the balance sheet, we should also total its debit column and credit column. So we have debit amount of 37,780, while the credit amount is 36,720. You may be asking why the amounts of the debit and credit were not equal because wala pa na-reflect ang income or loss. And so we have to reflect the difference. Okay? So whatever the difference from the debit and credit, it indicates the amount for our income or loss. Okay, so you will know if the company is having income if its credit column under the income statement section, okay? If under the income statement section, its credit column is higher compared to its debit column, therefore, the company has an income, okay? Meaning, nagka-gain ng company. But, if under the income statement section, its debit column is higher or greater than its credit column, so therefore, the company incurred loss. Okay, so that's it. So just get the difference. So 9,850 minus 8,790, then you will came up with a difference of 1,060. So you will just add the 1,060 to make our debit and credit column equal, okay? So we will just add the 1,060 sa debit column 8,790. Then we will come up with an amount of 9,850. Okay? So that's it. Again, take note guys, if pila yung gi-add sa income statement to make it balance, it should be also the amount that you should be added on the balance sheet to make our debit and credit column under the balance sheet equal, okay? Again, take note what you've added under the income statement section na amount, it should also be the amount that should be added on the balance sheet column, okay? So, in order for the debit and credit column of the balance sheet to have an equal amount, we add the 1,060 also on the credit side. Okay? So you just take note, the column that should be wherein you should add a particular amount is the lesser column. Meaning, if ang column na mas gamay, dito po ka mag-add og sa net income. Okay? So for example, this one, 8,790 versus 9,850. So the column that needs an amount, na dapat ada na tog amount. So the column that needs an additional amount is the debit column, since it is lower than the credit column. So we add 1,060 and then have its sum. So we have a total amount of 9,850. Same with the credit, we have the total amount of 9,850. For the balance sheet, of course, we add the net income to the column we're in. It has a lesser amount. So the credit has an amount of 36,720, while the debit has an amount of 27,700. So the column that should we're in, we should add the amount. The net income will be on the credit side because it is lesser than the debit side, okay? 1,060. So we come up both sides with an amount of 37,708. So that's how we prepare our 10-column worksheet. Okay, that's it. That's how you prepare the worksheet. Again, preparing a worksheet is optional, but for us to easily make our financial statements and closing entries for the next accounting step, so it is much better if we prepare a worksheet. Okay, so that's it. Goodbye, everyone, and see you in our next discussion.